And that's so crazy because all these different little facts, when you start looking at them and going, wait a second, we were told this, that, and the other thing, they don't add up to the truth. And I think that leads me to my first UFO story, if it's okay if I tell it.
Well, yeah, I've been waiting. I've been just talking to you for you to bring it up.
Okay, so here's the first, and I have 4 good, true UFO stories that no one's really ever heard yet. So this will be new to your listeners. Now, the first one comes from a trusted source. My good friend, Scott Kim, or Kim, it's Kihm. I met him when he hired me to write a script. Am I breaking up?
Not too bad.
Okay. I'm going to talk, I think if I talk slower, it'll be better.
Okay, but don't talk too slow.
All right. So, Scott was in Pennsylvania near, he's from Telford, but he was in Willow Grove, which is near Philadelphia. And him and his buddy, a good friend, who he was friends with for years, they were in their late teens. They were around 18 or 19. And they were walking across an overpass near a road. And they were walking, and they heard a jet flying overhead from a distance. And they looked up in the sky, and about maybe 300 or 400 feet above their head, they saw a UFO, and this is broad daylight, zip by them really fast. And then about 30 seconds later, chasing after the UFOs was 2 fighter jets. And they were like standing there stunned, looking what was going on. And a few moments later after that, the UFO had turned around and come back and stopped right above them, a few hundred feet above them, and it stopped and was motionless. And Scott and his friend both, in their minds, heard at the same time the words, "Come with us." And Scott replied back in his mind, "No." And then the UFO took off and bolted out of sight, and then the jets moments later came flying after them. Now, I believe that story, and he said it was telepathic. They were looking up, the ship stopped, said, "Come." They heard, "Come with us," in your mind. And he turned to his friend and said, Did you see that? And he said, "Yeah." And then he said, "Did you hear what they said?" And he said, "Yeah." But his friend would never talk about it again. He dropped out of sports and went in hardcore into religion and became like a devout religious person and would never speak about the incident ever again. It changed his life.
Oh, yeah, I bet it would. I mean, just think about how many people been picked up and never returned. That's what's scary.
I know, and you see all these shows on TV, like on Netflix or whatever, when, there's been more and more shows over the past few years about people who, like large groups of people who have gone missing, and then they come back all of a sudden, and they've been gone for like 10, 15, 25 years. It's like, where did they go? It's almost like they're preparing us for these kinds of things to start happening, and they're preparing us through the mass media. So I don't think time and space is what we really have been taught that it is.
I don't even think they even comprehend it. I really don't. I don't think the smartest minds on earth really can comprehend anything because everything keeps changing. Even going into the climate, from years ago, and people are in so much denial on everything. I mean, what's it going to take? A frickin' UFO to land in somewhere where thousands of people can see it? What's going to happen to those thousands of people that see it? Are they going to be put in some FEMA camp if they can't talk about it? And then, they try to cover it up by saying it was an invasion from another country. I don't know. I mean, it's just like it's so much BS out there for, they kind of...
That's something that the audience needs to consider. I mean, think about it. What you just said. Let's say UFO does appear above 1,000 people, and all of a sudden the DOD, CIA, and police are dispatched to the area, and they round up all those people, sequester them away, and debrief them, and maybe keep them in isolation for an undetermined amount of time, because now with the Patriot Act and things that they've been passing, they can hold people without any reason. And that's the thing that the audience has to think about.
And never take you to court. And you can have any lawyer you want. And what's the lawyer going to do? They don't need anything.
Right. No, and the lawyer's not really even working for you. In fact, courts aren't even courts. They're administration centers. And I know we want to keep this around UFOs, but my message really is that one day in the future, if you're police or military or CIA or DOD, you might be asked to turn your guns on your people, on these living souls who are just here as part of this experience. And where do you guys get the right to do that to us? We just want to know the truth. So before you as police, military, CIA, and DOD start turning your weapons against your own family, which is your living soul brothers and sisters, think about what's really right in this world and how we have the right to know the truth. I mean, we really do. That's why I've been putting out these stories, the True Stories episodes, about people telling their real truth about things that have happened. And I have 2 of them out now about UFOs and alien abductions and people who are going through these traumatic experiences that change their lives, I mean, really, really impact their lives. And yet, no, the government is not coming out and telling us the truth about it. Whenever we approach them, it's like, well, national security. We can't tell you because of national security. How is that fair when they're really not even a nation? They're a corporation pretending to be a government. When they have all of the secrets about the UFOs, about the history of our species and our visitations and technology, and they're keeping all of this UFO and alien technology from us, and they're forcing us to use so-called fossil fuels or oil or gas when we have the technology for free energy, but yet they're keeping it from us. That's the thing that really bothers me, is that they have the technology. I guarantee that they're working with them. I guarantee they know about the UFOs and aliens and the genetic programs and the technology, but yet they're keeping everything from us. And they say life's not fair, but really, it's not fair what is being done to us, period. And it frustrates me.
Well, it frustrates me because, the former defense minister of Canada comes right out and says there's UFOs. Mm-hmm. Russia says that there's UFOs. When they got a sighting, they let the people know. I mean, in Brazil, South Africa, I mean, supposedly there's a story. It was a story back, I think, around 1990s, early 90s, that a UFO crashed in South Africa. And that the U.S. government ended up with it. I mean, it's just so many different things. The reports all around England, the U.K. I mean, the things that happen over that military base, and for years that the U.K. admitted that there's things out there. But in our country, hey, it's a weather balloon. It's this and that. That's why I was really freaked out there, the beginning of the year when from a couple years ago, when the 2 fighter pilots off the aircraft carrier encountered a UFO. It took a couple years for that video from their plane to kind of all of a sudden hit the news. But I was really surprised that the government didn't debunk it. But then I was so much more shocked about a month later after that hit the news that our Secretary of the Air Force and to the graduating cadets, he's making a speech, right? And says, don't worry, the next war will not be on the ground. It'll be out in outer space. I kind of took that kind of any which way. But then, about a month later, our beloved president gets on and says, jokingly in the news, because you can't believe everything he says because he said that all news is fake. So that means even what he says in news has to be fake. I don't know. You can take that any way you want. I mean, I like Trump. I like Trump. Okay. I mean, he's married to a beautiful woman. And he's the only one I know that any president, he can have his own cell phone and, and talk on it and just, let the Russians and Chinese spies listen to his phone conversations. Oh boy, I bet they get an earful. But, the thing is, then he jokes around and says to the news media, well, maybe I should create a space force. And then about 2 months later, him and our vice president, sent a thing up to the Pentagon for them to research, to, start the process to create a space force when we got the Air Force. So, and my feeling is we've had a space force for many years, but I find it so strange. This stuff is all kind of coming out in little bits and pieces. But I mean, God, it's so much on the news going on. It's crazy. So I don't even know what to believe. I think I could make a fake story here, and it'd be just as probably reliable as what you hear from the government.
Yeah, because the government controls the mass media, and then the mass media uses mixture, like truth mixed with fiction, to manipulate our minds to believe what they want us to believe. I don't think that anything that Trump says is said just whimsically or off the cuff, that it's all carefully crafted. Because remember, first he was a businessman, and then he became a showman, in Hollywood and doing TV. Now he's president, and I respect him as a business person, and I respect his ability to speak and hold the attention of a crowd and to move people. But I still believe he's part of that agenda. And, Ronald Reagan started it way back when he said that there's going to be a war from outer space. We need to get ready for it, and that's what's going to bring the people together. And I think that's been a long-term, slow plan, and now Trump is the one who was put into office to create Space Force or Space Command. And then I think what's going to happen next is going to be a major staged alien invasion, and they're going to use that staged alien invasion to bring us under one world currency, one world government, one world's religion. And I think what they're going to do, according to what Albert Pike says, is they're going to get rid of Christianity and Islam at the same time and come out with the whole Luciferian doctrine, which is about how we're in some type of a simulation that's being controlled by these powers that be, which are aliens or internet dimensional beings or the programmers that created this whole simulation.
I don't know.
You know the movie The Fourth Kind? You ever see that movie The Fourth Kind?
Long time ago.
Well, in the movie The Fourth Kind, it takes place in Nome, Alaska. It stars Mila Jovovich, and it's based on a true story, they say. In fact, they show the side-by-side footage of the reenactment in the movie and some of the footage of what really happened, which some people try to debunk that footage and say it was staged for the movie. And I don't think so, because from what I saw, it looked like what was happening was these people in Alaska are getting abducted. And when they were going through regressive hypnosis about the abductions. And when they would put them under regressive hypnosis, the abduction scenario would replay in their psyche right there in the present so powerfully as if it was happening right then and there. And you could see a physical anomaly happen. One guy floats up off of the couch, and he's suspended in air, and he's being spoken through by an alien mechanical voice that said, "We are your gods. We created you. We have the right to do this." It's almost like these beings created us, created our reality, created this simulation or whatever it is, and they're doing whatever they feel like as part of their maybe interaction in this apparent physical in which we're living. I don't know. It's only speculation. I'm putting information together because Hollywood, they put the truth in plain sight, or they hide it in plain sight for us to decipher, because I guess according to their agreements with the powers that be, they're not allowed to go out and write it down and say, hey, here's exactly what's going on. They can just show us in analogies and let us figure it out, which it's kind of frustrating because I just want to know the truth. But I think sometimes I think that if we actually did find out the real truth, all of it, that it might cause us to